Well, it's really great to be here this afternoon to have this opportunity to share an educational resource with you guys. So thank you for this. So a little bit about me, and then we'll spend most of the time on the materials. So my name is Martin Staniforth, and I work as a catalyst, if you like, really, with the Dove Self-Esteem Project. So as a catalyst, that means a facilitator, helping to kind of chivvy things along. Perhaps the role's a bit like a midwife, some have said. And it's all about helping to develop educational interventions on body confidence and self-esteem for young people that can be delivered by teachers, parents, youth leaders, or whatever, really. And I've been working on this project now for, I think, about 14 years. So it's a really wonderful thing. I'm very proud to have taken it from a little idea to something that is now has a reach of millions of people around the world, as you'll see soon. So my kind of background and experience is partly based in businesses, kind of helping business to on their marketing side, and I suppose a little bit in education as well. With businesses, I help companies to sell their stuff, but to do that in a way that is mindful of the process. So it's not just about selling more stuff, it's about doing that in a way that puts something back into society or community or into the planet that is relevant to that product. This whole thing is underlined by the Dove the brand, a commercial brand owned by Unilever, which is there, like all brands, to make a profit for its shareholders. But Dove is really keen to promote its products in a way that builds people's body confidence and builds their sense of self. So I just kind of flagged that up so that I've kind of disclosed, if you like, who the sponsor is behind this piece of valuable work. So let me jump in and start with the chat. So in this session, then we're going to talk a bit about the problem. Then we're going to go more importantly towards the solution. How can we help to go and kind of make the world more body confident? And specifically, I'm going to spend most of the time taking you through a resource called Confident Me that you'll be able to go and download for free at the end. And we'll tell you how to go and do that. And there are also other resources that you can download as well. Finally, we'll just cover a few kind of tricky topics that may come up sometimes when you're having a conversation with young people. So the problem. First, a fact around girls, and the source of this is from the Children's Society and from Dove's own global research. Shockingly, half of the girls around the world do not have high body esteem. And more worryingly, this dissatisfaction has increased over the years. So that's kind of really worrying. There's a big problem and it's getting worse. Why might that be? Well, if we drill down into it, we can see, still focusing on girls, that about 8 in 10 girls, if they don't feel good about the way that they look, 8 in 10 will avoid seeing friends or family. So they'll change their behavior. So they won't go to the beach, or they won't put their camera on when they're on a WhatsApp call with their friends, because they don't want the metaphorical spotlight to be placed upon them. 7 in 10 girls will not be assertive in their opinion. So they'll back down, or they won't say what they really want to say or what they really believe to be true. They'll give an answer they think or that others are expecting, even if they don't really believe in it themselves. So basically they kind of put themselves last, they put themselves to the back of the queue. 7 in 10 girls, if they don't feel good about the way they look, will stop themselves from eating or have some other kind of behavior that to do with eating that is just not good for their health. So they may skip meals or kind of take on unhealthy diets. And when I say when girls don't feel good about the way they look, I'm not talking about if they're worried that they're kind of, their hairstyle isn't that good today. I'm talking about more fundamentally if they're concerned about the shape of their bodies, their kind of more fundamental appearance. That's the issue here. Let's now move on to boys then. A different survey, this is just from in the UK, showed that 40% of boys in their early teen years said that they would consider using protein shakes or supplements specifically to go and try and change the way that they look. And I find this really quite worrying when we think that that's the kind of age when their bodies are changing from children to manhood. So lots of kind of wonderful natural things are happening in their bodies anyway. And to think that they could do something to alter that by using chemicals in foods, if you like, just seems a bit warped, really. Why do those boys think that's a good idea? Where's that pressure come from? What is going on here? Now, we could spend ages talking about the problem, but I just kind of put a few facts up there just to go and kind of whet your appetite. I guess it's not surprising, though, when we look all around us. I'm just pausing because my screen, there we go, brilliant. It's not so surprising when we look at the world all around us, because every day we receive tons of messages from the commercial world, from our friends and families, from everywhere really, giving us a suggestion as to how we are meant to be. And I say meant to be in inverted commas. So in this mocked up visual here, we see a young girl walking past a poster of a highly idealized picture of a woman there. Now, what's the effect of seeing such a picture on that child? Perhaps just seeing one picture briefly, perhaps there's no kind of noticeable effect at all. But seeing images like this day in, day out, several times a day, go on together to kind of create this image that this is how we're meant to be. This is what is good or right. And therefore we can then look at ourselves in the mirror in the evening and think, I don't match up to that appearance ideal. It's me that has a problem. It's me that needs to go and change. This is the myth that we need to go and explode. The Dove Self-Esteem Project then has a mission, which is all future focused. It's about helping to ensure that the next generation grows up enjoying a positive relationship with the way that they look, so that young people can reach their full potential and be the people that they were meant to go and be, not have them sitting on the in the corners of the rooms, on the back benches of life, but sitting on the front benches, putting their hands up, going out there and doing stuff. And I think a key phrase within that is this thing about developing or enjoying a positive relationship with the way they look. So many people see their appearance as a reason to kind of batter themselves down. We think it should be a reason to kind of big ourselves up. Very briefly then, talking about the Dove Self-Esteem Project, it's the world's biggest provider of self-esteem education, having developed and shared educational interventions that have been used with over 60 million young people in over 140 countries in the last kind of 15 years. And these have been delivered in schools, through youth programs and direct to young people, as well as via parents as well. There's a whole bunch of partnerships that have been created, both with people like the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts and with Cartoon Network. So mixing together a whole bunch of different interventions to kind of go and get this message across. And also there's a whole program of advocacy, so raising the issue of body confidence at the United Nations to go and kind of trigger other partners to get involved and support the cause. We've worked with several academics. One is Dr. Nancy Etkoff, who's based at Harvard, and she says, no young person should leave school feeling that they can't participate fully in life because of the way that they think they look. And I think that is a really important insight and challenge that drives everything that we do. We want everyone, by the end of their education, everyone just to feel great about themselves and feel they can be who they're meant to go and be. So let me play a little film now then. It's called I'm Fine, that perhaps just sets up why we should all be involved with this. I mean, I think it's pretty quite clear from the facts already, but sometimes people say, okay, I get this generally, but I'm okay, my kid's okay, this is not an issue that I need to get involved with. And we would perhaps beg to differ. So let's watch this film, I'm Fine.
Hey, hola mami, bonjour papa. How's your day?
Tu as passé une bonne journée?
How was your day?
I only see perfect girls on my feed. How many filters do you need? So I suck everything in, eager to be thin. What am I supposed to wear? I mean, I love my hair, but does anyone really care? Recognition, expectation, selfie posting, hesitations. Are we all imitating imitations? Inside, I'm all neon, bursting at the seams, but in the hole, I stay small, and I tone down my writing. So many endless thoughts in my head is spinning. I want to fit in, but I don't really. It's just so freaking overwhelming. I just wish I could shout about all this stuff that and let it all go. It was fun. Well, yeah.
So when we ask people in a face-to-face workshop what that film is all about, the answer that we're not looking for is, yeah, it's all about kind of having a go at mums for not doing enough to support their daughters. That clearly is not what it's about. What it is about is just raising awareness that it's really important to listen to people around us and to make the time and the space to have meaningful conversation. You know, they say that we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, therefore perhaps we should spend twice as much time listening as we should talking. But what you saw in that film was that the mum, at the end there, she kind of puts down her vegetables that she's chopping, and she looks at the girl and she's really focused on being there for her to go and dig into that "I'm fine." Because we've all done that. We've all said, yeah, I'm okay, life's all right. And really, it's just not true. It's a sticking plaster convenient answer we put to try and move the conversation on. But it is really important to spend time every now and then to actually open up and share and discuss what's going on in our hearts. So how do we start these conversations? Because we know there's an issue. How do we make it happen? Let's take a look at some of the resources that we have available then. I should say these resources have all been proven to actually deliver a behaviour change when they are implemented. So Confident Me for schools, I'm going to go through that in real detail in a few minutes time. So I'll leave that one. We've got Uniquely Me, which is something that specifically helps parents to begin a conversation with young people in their families around bodies, diet, health, relationships, all those kind of topics. True to Me is something that's for youth groups. We also have another youth program that we've created with the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. And this is a massive thing that's used all around the world. There's things for the younger girls, the older girls, and indeed a training program for the leaders as well. And it all leads up to a badge program for them as well. All these materials and more can be found online at the Dove Self-Esteem website, where there are loads of conversation starters and articles from experts to explore in a practical way how to support young people in bigging themselves up and developing more kind of robustness as they grow up. So I'd really recommend you visit that as a source of further support. I mentioned some of the perhaps more kind of contemporary activations as well. So there's a whole bunch of short films created with Cartoon Network. Again, you can get all these from the Dove website. And there's also a self-esteem game called the Self-Esteem Squad, which helps people to learn the messages and reinforce the correct messages as they're playing a little fun game. So Confident Me then, the schools resource. It's been designed to help young people, first of all, understand that there's a thing called the appearance ideal. And I guess we saw an appearance ideal on that poster that the girl was looking at earlier on. Now, appearance ideals vary by culture, by geography, and over time. But I think I can say quite safely that just about everywhere in the world, there is and always has been an appearance ideal. But where does the pressure to achieve these appearance ideals come from? And who has created the localized appearance ideal? So we explored appearance ideals and set up that idea. Then we helped to go and build media literacy. So help young people to understand what's really going on behind a message they may see in the media. So particularly in advertising. So why has that image been chosen? Why has that piece of text been chosen? Why have those colors been chosen? What's going on there? Is what we are seeing something that's fair, or is it unfair? And finally, and this is the really important part that is missing in some other interventions, we support young people with strategies, practical strategies, to resist appearance pressures so they can stop comparing themselves to others, they can actively challenge appearance ideals and build their body confidence. Now, Confident Me comes in two disguises. The first one is the single session, which I shall whiz through, and it's aimed at young people aged 11 to 14. I mean, it's been used in primary schools as well. It has been used with older students as well. Obviously, a teacher can adapt the resources inside there. You can use it in a boys-only school, a girls-only school, or a mixed setting. But if you have the time, there's a more robust resource, which is the same thing, Confident Me, but it's in 5 separate sessions for 5 lessons. And clearly, coming back to this topic 5 times is going to deliver more results than a single session. However, even just a single session is effective. Independent research from the Centre for Appearance Research shows that when you use Confident Me, young people feel better about their body image, have higher self-esteem, and feel more confident to participate in social activities. For instance, they may be more likely to say that they're going to go to a party, and feel more confident to participate in academic activities, i.e. they will put their hand up in class when asked a question about history, for instance. So what is in Confident Me? First of all, there is a workshop guide for teachers and facilitators, which takes you through the stimulus and the inputs, and then suggests the kind of output that you want to go and get to. Now, I'm very conscious that doing this online training means that our ability to be interactive together is massively reduced. But so therefore, I will be kind of giving you the input and perhaps suggesting some model answers. But in the classroom, you're hoping to just pose questions to the young people, and you want them to deduce the answers. You want them to talk things out loud and do the working, because the more that their brains are trying to work out what's going on and work out what the answer is, the better the learning is for them. I like to say that when I kind of see furrows on their brows, that's when you know that, okay, we're now at their learning edge. This is when they are really engaging and taking things on. So there's a stimulus presentation, which is very visual, very colourful, and I think just about every slide there has a question. So it's a prompt to you to go and facilitate conversation. There's a whole bunch of films that we're going to go and play. There are activity sheets that you can use either during the session, or you can use as homework or follow up afterwards. That then basically gives you the background to the problem, what the resource is, what the elements are. Now I'm going to jump in and I'm going to pretend to be presenting this to a classroom or a group of young people, and let's see how things go. I should say, by the way, that I can't see any of you guys or any questions at all. So that's why Anne says that she's managing the questions. And if a question needs to come up in the flow, then Anne will just politely interrupt me. Otherwise, we'll take those at the end. Right, well, good afternoon, class. It's great to have this opportunity then to talk about Confident Me. So we're going to explore what we think about kind of body confidence and self-esteem and some of the factors that may make us feel stronger and better about ourselves. Now, one thing to say at this stage is that the phrase body confidence itself can be an alienating phrase. It may get some young people to be anxious. They may start to fold their arms and withdraw because they don't want to be exposed. They don't want the facilitators to say, right, you, John, in the third row, tell me about your body. Now, clearly, we're not going to do that, but their kind of mind chatter might make them think that's going to happen. So the important thing in the first few minutes is to set up this as a safe space where no one will be judged. People will be encouraged to speak, but no one will be forced to speak. And certainly we will treat it, everything that's said, with kind of respect and in confidence. So I like to perhaps do a little warm-up exercise now. So one could be, I can say to them, right, I want you to have a think about getting ready for this day today. And feel free to raise your hands and answer these questions now, even though I can't see you. So this morning, as you were getting ready, did you put your left shoe on before your right shoe? Put your hand up if that's the case. Okay, did you put your right shoe before your left shoe? And now the third question, put your hands up if you're not sure which shoe you put on. Quite a few kids will laugh at that. All right. Did you put your shirt on? Did you have the buttons done up already? So you pulled the shirt over your head. A few hands go up for that. Did you look in the mirror this morning? Probably most hands go up. Did you look in the mirror for more than 2 minutes? Probably quite a lot of hands go up. And did you this morning at any time, did you ask yourself the question, do I look good enough for the day ahead? Do I look good enough for the day ahead? And probably quite a few hands go up for that as well. That is what we're going to explore today in this session. Why do we ask ourselves, do I look good enough for the day ahead? What does good enough mean? Who says what's good enough? That is going to be our exploration. So I'd like to start off by playing a film that's called What Are Appearance Pressures? In fact, perhaps before I play that film, does anybody want to suggest any answers? What do we think appearance pressures might be? So again, remembering our kind of ground rules here, whatever answer a young person says, as long as they're being sensible, is a good answer, because we want people to understand this is a safe place where they can share and take a risk and it will be okay. So even if they answer the question and your judgment says it's not a very good answer, a great response to have would be, thank you for your contribution. Thank you for being the first to speak out. Thank you for putting your hand up nice and clearly. So you are rewarding their behavior and making them feel confident about themselves. So appearance pressures are basically when it's a stylized view as to how we are meant to be. Let's watch this film then, which helps to explore. So the first question I would ask now is, what did you see in that film? What was going on? That's not a catch question. It's a simple question of observation. What did you notice in that film? And people will say, well, they saw how over the years, different people are wearing different styles of clothing. Brilliant, thank you. And now be more specific, what did you notice there? Well, so the clothing perhaps got a bit tighter, and there was a little bit more flesh on display, perhaps, as we came up to modern times. The men got a bit more kind of muscular and tattoos, and the props around them, the phones and the cars kind of changed throughout the years as well. Great, thank you. So why then? Why have these appearance ideals changed? Now, often they can go quite quiet to that question. So put it another way, why today do young people not wear the same as what young people wore 20 years ago? And they'll normally laugh at that. But they go, well, why is it? Why has fashion changed? And they just say, well, we want to wear what's cool now or what's in now. But who's to say what is cool now? Who's to say what is the in appearance? And after quite a lot of digging, people eventually will say, okay, so perhaps they see film stars have got new looks that everyone else wants to go and copy, or perhaps there's a new pop band that's kind of developing a new kind of genre of music with a new style, and people want to identify with that. Perhaps also young people want to show that they are not their parents' generation, and it's part of rebelling and growing up and showing that they want to be punk rockers or goths or something, but just different from what their parents look like. So that's all kind of fine. And often I'll wear perhaps a piece of old clothing in these sessions, something that may be 20 years old. I'll ask them how old the jacket is, and I'll say, oh, it's 2 years old or it's 20 years old. And I'll say, do you think people often wear old stuff these days? And then the little debate about, well, perhaps vintage clothing, yes, but usually no. Well, why don't we wear clothing until it's completely worn out? And people go, well, because we want to go and buy new stuff. And I question, well, do we want to go and buy new stuff, or do we feel we have to go and buy new stuff? Where's the pressure coming from? But a key thing here is about buying stuff. So after a while, people understand that actually there is huge commercial pressure to, this shirt I'm wearing now, if I wear this shirt for 20 years, then shirt manufacturers and shirt shops can't make money out of me. So they want me to put this shirt to one side and buy another shirt to go and keep them in business. So there's commercial pressure to make us dissatisfied with what we have so that someone else can go make more money out of us. And that's a really important learning to understand. So when we buy something, are we really doing it for ourselves, or are we actually just doing it to go and support an organization, a business? Where do appearance pressures come from then? So where do we learn about how we are meant to go and be? So the answer to this is all kinds of places. So it's from looking on television, it's from seeing posters on the streets, it's from talking to people, noticing what our friends wear, seeing shop windows on the high street, seeing what people are wearing on the high street, chatting with our parents, seeing what our parents are wearing. So we get appearance pressures from all around us. So that's an interesting thing to go and kind of understand. So one thing we mentioned there is that we see things in the media, on TV and in the media. Media is, now's a good time to kind of provoke the question, what do we actually mean by media? And it's a word we use a lot, but can be hard to understand. I'd say a definition of media is it's a way of communicating a message via a particular channel. So it might be, like stories in the newspaper is the channel, and the stories is the message there. So it's got two parts to it, the message and the channel. So let's drill down into media. And I think we can put media now into two buckets, professional media and personal media. You can do a little game at this stage, and you can say, I'd like everyone in this group now to mention one brand of media, and hopefully we'll have no repetitions. So a very simple exercise, it's a bit of fun, it's a way of engaging the whole class and getting everyone's voice to be heard in the next minute. So one person might say Facebook, next person says BBC, next person says the Times newspaper, etc. So get them to mention a specific brand of magazine or TV or social media. I notice increasingly these days that young people just mention the kind of social media brands, the personal media brands, rather than professional media. So I want to ask a question now then. Why do you think we've put media into these two groups here, professional and personal? What's the difference? Answers you're hoping to provoke there are that professional media is when an organization has hired a model, a camera, probably a lighting rig, a location scout, and they're putting it all together to go and take some photographs, to write a story and publish it. With personal media, we do that. So I am the photographer, I am the story writer, I am the location scout, I decide which picture of me goes out, I control my media. So we're now going to just drill down to these two in a little bit more detail. One thing I should say there is that these days, of course, the worlds of professional media and personal media very much blur in the world of social media, i.e. I can be on my social media feed where I kind of put my own personal media, but I can see lots of ads and placements of things in there that have been popped in there by professional media. So perhaps to kind of kick off this discussion, I'll play a film in a second that's called Just a Selfie. And the point of this film is to kind of question how much we can trust images that we see in the media. I think we all know that kind of manipulation goes on a lot, but do we know quite how much it goes on? So we're going to see a film which takes a woman who's on the left-hand side there and ends up with her being on the right-hand side. And in fact, the film kind of starts halfway through this process. So let's watch Just a Selfie. And my first question at the end would be, what did you notice in that film? So a simple question of observation. It's not a trick question. What did you notice? So what did you notice there? So people say, gosh, well, they saw all kinds of things happen. Like it was called Just a Selfie, but actually she didn't even take the photograph herself. Someone else took the photograph. And there was this massive team of people. So on this chart here, on the left-hand side, you can see all the decisions that were taken before the photograph was taken. So they chose where to go, they chose a hairstyle, they chose a model, etc. And then after the photograph was taken, they made loads of retouching changes. So they changed the skin color, they changed the shape of the face, they made the cheekbones bigger, they made the neck longer. So all kinds of stuff. And therefore the image at the end looks nothing like the reality of the person at the beginning. So now we get on to the more interesting questions then. So why would they go and change that? So take the woman at the beginning there. I ask people, you know, be honest, don't be rude, but be honest. How attractive, or no, what do you think the person is like on the left-hand side? I mean, we don't know what she's really like, but what kind of personality do you think she has? And most people say that she looks like a nice person, whatever that means. She looks like she's kind, she looks happy, she probably, you know, likes animals, she probably helps people out. She's someone you could go and kind of trust. What do you think about the person on the right-hand side? And just from looking at that picture, people say, she looks, actually, I don't think I would trust her. She looks a bit cold. She doesn't look very happy. She might even be a bit of a mean person, actually. So isn't it amazing that people have a very different response to these two pictures, just with that little bit of information? So what effect might it have on the person on the left-hand side to go through this process? Some say, well, she probably really enjoyed it. It was probably a lot of fun doing that shoot. And I'm sure it was. But others will say, well, if she thought she was okay at the beginning, if she thought she was chosen because she was a model, and then she saw all these things they went and did to her afterwards, she may actually feel less good about herself. And then the girl at the end who saw the picture on her social media feed and put a like on it, what was going through her mind? Again, if it's just one image, probably not very much, but seeing lots of images, she may start to think that she's not good enough, that she can't match up to the standard that's been set on her social media feed. And therefore, either she needs to kind of withdraw from life, or she needs to go and get a job purely so she can go and buy makeup to try and look like the person in the picture. So lots of consequences for her life. So then ask the question, so do you think, we also explore what manipulated means. Manipulated is a slightly dark word that means changing, but changing to someone else's agenda, and perhaps we don't know that we are changing. So it's a bit kind of a bit underhand, really. So how does it feel to be manipulated? And young people often say at this stage, well, it's not very good. I don't really like it. And then I'll repeat the question, how does it feel to be manipulated? And they might say, well, it's wrong. And I'll ask it again, yeah, okay, but how does it actually make you feel? Where do you feel it when you realize that you've been manipulated? And then they start to say, okay, well, I feel something in my stomach. I feel cross. I feel upset. I feel angry. And providing a safe space where people can talk about emotions is a really important thing to go and do in our kind of logic-driven world. And once people connect with their feelings and understand that their feelings are totally normal and echo the feelings of people around them, people can actually then put those feelings into a place of action. So there's a similar exercise you can do here with an advertisement. This time it's got a male model, but a similar kind of structure. So we've explored the feeling side. What can we go and do about this? At this stage, we cut to an activity sheet where people break into pairs. One takes on the role of a, if you like, a fashion victim. So I might say, ooh, I really wish I had big muscles like that guy in that poster. And then I get loads and loads of friends. Everyone would like me to have massive muscles. And my partner in the pair, their job is to persuade me to a different course of action. So this is one of these very practical strategies where we can give people tools to help them combat everyday appearance pressures. And the kind of thing that a young person might say is not bigging me up about my appearance, although that would be, as I am, although that would be okay, but it's better to talk about my qualities, my skills. So I like you, Martin, because I like your smile, or I like the fact that you hold the door open for me, or you help me with my geography homework, or you kick a football to me on the football pitch when other kids don't. So talking about qualities of personality is much more important than talking about appearance. Is it fair to compare ourselves to other people, particularly people in the media? The answer is, of course, no, because when we do compare ourselves, we're probably comparing ourselves on our worst day with people who have been highly retouched and manipulated after a whole team of people have taken a photograph. But let's go into this comparison thing a little bit more. So this is the final film I'm going to play in this session that's called Change One Thing.
I wish I had straight hair.
Blonde hair would be nice.
I would love to have freckles.
I wish I was taller. Darker skin. I think I'm way too pale.
I always wanted blue eyes.
I'd like to have smaller breasts. Just kind of want to fit in.
I wish I was shorter.
I wish I was stronger.
I would like to have lighter skin.
I think that I would like to have curly hair.
I wish I had straight hair.
So again, we can explore. Firstly, just shout out yes or no. Is it generally true that people want to have something in some other people? You know, if there's an aspect for another person, and people just shout out resounding yes. And is it generally true that we don't notice what we have in ourselves, but others do? People again shout out a yes. So why might that be, and what can we do about it? And one simple thing we can do is to give authentic compliments to people around us. So when was the last time that we told our best friend what they really meant to us? Sometimes in some cultures, we think that just by hanging out with people, that's good enough and means that we like them. No, it's not. Words are powerful things. Let's take the time to give an authentic, meaningful, specific compliment to somebody near to us by the end of today. Why not? And keep that going. There's an exploration then about how people may kind of, we discussed how professional people change images, but we also can change images in our own kind of personal media as well. And then action coming out of this then is perhaps to be brave. And if you're going to go take a selfie, how about taking just one photograph and post it with the hashtag no filters. Hashtag this is the real me. Even if you're blinking or whatever, just put out the real you and stop kind of feeding the appearance pressures there. So whizzing towards the end of this bit here, in summary then, what have we learned there? Pressure to look a certain way comes from the world around us. It's important to remember that images of people we see in all types of media aren't always real, and it's unfair to compare ourselves to this media. And the final activity now helps us to think about, well, what are we going to do about this then? How are we going to make the world more body confident? And that can be anything from people committing to giving a meaningful compliment to one specific person, or it might be they want to go and set up an alternative fashion show, or create an event on their high street, or make a film, or whatever. There are loads of ways that young people can go and kind of take this action and pay it forwards. Really briefly then, a few tricky questions that might kind of come up. Someone might say, I think it's good to look like the appearance ideal because beautiful people have better lives. The first thing I do with all these questions is throw them back to the class and get them to think about them and work them out. So do you think that's really true? Do perfects have celebrity lives? Do you think being followed by a whole bunch of cameras and journalists all the time is actually a good life? Do you think not being able to kind of relax and be yourself is a good life? Perhaps it's not quite so perfect. Someone can say, I can't find anything I like about my body. So I think acknowledging that we can be quite used to putting ourselves down, it can be hard to go and change. However, rather than thinking about our appearance, think about what our bodies can do. So list all the things that your body can do. It can jump, it can run, it can sing, it can whistle, it can eat, etc. And once you write down that whole list, then you can have some admiration and wonder for the amazing things about your body. Surely you like your body for what it can do. That's a much more powerful thing than what it looks like. Does promoting positive body image promote obesity? Absolutely not. And indeed, fat shaming doesn't help people to go and kind of change to healthier lifestyles anyway. But research shows that a key step to getting people to have healthier lifestyles is for them to have body acceptance, body love. So this is the first stage. Opposite end of the scale, people might say, well, actually, are we just criticizing kind of thin people? Are we saying that people who match the appearance ideal, that they're wrong? And again, that's not the case. We're not saying that. There's nothing wrong with any natural appearance. What we're saying is that we don't like the idea that we should be putting people under pressure to conform to one narrow stereotype. We should basically be appreciating the beauty and the diversity in all of us and taking the conversation away from appearance to qualities, attributes, skills. That is the end of the the introduction to these resources. So you can get these all, you have to register, but you can get them free from the Self-Esteem Dove website. You can get the teachers, the parents, and the youth leaders resources there as well. There's also will be an opportunity in the feedback after this session. If you want me to send a USB in the post to you, then you can just give Anne your address and we will post one over to you with all the resources on it. So I'm going to draw a line there and stop the screen sharing, hand back to Anne, and then perhaps we have a bit of a discussion or some questions.